It was a quiet, cold night. One of those nights where time seemed frozen, and silence wrapped around everything like a heavy blanket. I was alone in my apartment, curled up on the couch, half watching an old movie, when the knock came. A single, sharp knock at the door. I froze. Who knocks at midnight? My heart skipped. Not from fear. Well, maybe a little, but more from the tension that seemed to thicken the air around me. I slowly stood up, every creak of the wooden floorboards beneath my feet sounding unnaturally loud. I walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It was her, Maya, my stepsister. She stood in the hallway barefoot, wrapped in a hoodie 2 sizes too big for her, and holding something in her arms. A blanket? A pillow? I hesitated for a second. It had been months since I saw her last. Ever since Dad and her mom got divorced, things had changed. She moved out with her mom, and I stayed behind, trying to build my own quiet corner of peace. I hadn't expected to see her again, certainly not like this. Another knock. Maya, I asked through the door. She looked up, her eyes puffy, red-rimmed. It's cold, she said quietly. Can I come in? Without thinking, I opened the door. She stepped inside, eyes avoiding mine, clutching the pillow tighter. Her voice was hoarse. Sorry to just show up like this. I didn't know where else to go. I locked the door behind her and motioned toward the couch. Sit. I'll get you something warm. In the kitchen, I boiled water and tried to gather my thoughts. Why now? What happened? I handed her a steaming mug of tea and sat beside her. She didn't speak for a long while. The room was filled with the faint sounds of the TV and the occasional sip from her cup. Finally, she whispered, Mom kicked me out. I turned sharply. What? She's got a new boyfriend. He doesn't like me. Says I'm too much trouble. And she just let him. She told me to leave. Just like that. There was a bitterness in her voice, but more than that, hurt. Deep, aching hurt. I didn't know what to say. What could I say? You can stay here, I told her. For as long as you need. She looked at me then, really looked. Her eyes shimmered in the soft light. You're not mad. No, I said. Of course not. Maya smiled weakly, then leaned her head on my shoulder. I felt her body shiver slightly, not from the cold, but from whatever storm she was holding inside. I didn't move. I just sat there, letting her be. Do you remember that summer we all went to the lake? She asked out of nowhere. Yeah, you made us stop 3 times on the way, because you forgot stuff. She laughed, just a little. I forgot my shoes, and the charger, and the sunscreen, and still managed to tan darker than anyone else. I miss that, she whispered. When things weren't so broken. I nodded. Me too. There was silence again, but it felt different now. Softer, less lonely. A shared silence. You ever think about how we just stopped talking? She asked. I did. All the time. But I never knew how to fix it. I shrugged. Things changed. I guess we let it happen. I didn't want it to, she said quietly. Neither did I. Her head was still on my shoulder. I could feel her breath now, steadying. I wanted to ask a million things, where she'd been, what she'd been through, how she found me. But something told me tonight wasn't for questions. It was for presence. For letting things be what they were. You're not alone anymore, I said softly. She didn't answer, but I felt her hand reach out and take mine. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a midnight visit. Something had changed. Something deep. Something fragile, but real. And just as I was starting to let the moment settle, Maya lifted her head. Her eyes were searching mine, filled with unspoken emotion. I need to tell you something, she said. My chest tightened. What is it? She hesitated, lips parting as if to speak. But just then, a sharp bang echoed from outside the apartment. Both of us jolted. She looked terrified. Maya, what's going on? She opened her mouth, but stopped. And I knew then. Whatever she was about to tell me wasn't just emotional. It was dangerous. To be continued. I jumped up and went straight to the window. The street outside was mostly empty. Just a single parked car under the flickering lamplight. No movement. No sign of whoever or whatever caused the noise. Maya sat frozen on the couch, her eyes wide. Maya, I said firmly, what's going on? She didn't answer right away. Her fingers clutched the blanket tightly, knuckles pale. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, They followed me. Who? She looked up, her lips trembling. I didn't mean to get involved. I swear. But once I knew what they were doing, I couldn't unsee it. My stomach sank. Start from the beginning. She nodded slowly, trying to gather herself. When Mom met him, Rick, I didn't like him. He was too smooth, too perfect, always trying to impress her, flashing money around. I thought he was just another creep. But one night, I heard them talking. About money. About deliveries. Illegal stuff. She paused, looking down. At first, I thought it was drugs. But it wasn't. It was worse. They were trafficking girls. Young girls. Teens. I felt ice rush through my veins. Maya. I recorded them. On my phone. I thought I could turn it in anonymously. But somehow they found out. She pulled her sleeve up and showed a deep bruise on her arm. That was Rick. He told Mom I was trying to ruin them. And you know what she did? Her voice cracked. She gave him my phone. And told me to get out. I stood there stunned. This was way bigger than I thought. She wasn't just escaping a bad relationship. She was running from criminals. Do they know you're here? I don't think so. I used a friend's phone to call a ride. Paid cash. I only had time to grab a few things. I moved to lock the deadbolt and drew the curtains tightly shut. You did the right thing, I said. Coming here. But if they find out I'm with you, I don't want you to get hurt. I'm not letting anything happen to you, Maya. Not again. She looked up, eyes glistening. Why are you being so kind to me? Because you matter, I said. You always have. We may not share blood, but we share history. And I'm not letting that go. For a moment, the room was still. Then she did something unexpected. She stood and walked toward me, her expression vulnerable, exposed. You were always the only one who made me feel safe, she said. Even when we were kids. I pretended to fight you on everything. But deep down, I just wanted to be close. My breath caught in my throat. I should have reached out sooner, I said. But you didn't, she replied softly. And now I'm here. Scared. Tired. And the only thing that makes me feel like I can breathe is you. I didn't know what to say. The tension between us was palpable. Not just fear, not just pain. But something warmer, deeper. Something neither of us had acknowledged before. I stepped closer, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. I'm here now, I said. And I'm not going anywhere. She exhaled shakily, then wrapped her arms around me. It wasn't romantic. Not yet. It was human. It was need. And I held her, grounding her, shielding her. She leaned into me and whispered, What if they come tonight? Then they'll find I'm not so easy to scare. A faint smile touched her lips. You always did like to act tough. It's not an act, I said, pulling back slightly to meet her eyes. Not when it comes to protecting you. That night, I set up a makeshift bed for her in my room and took the couch. But sleep didn't come easy. Every sound outside, every car engine, every creak of the building, it all kept me on edge. Around 3 a.m., the floorboards creaked. I sat up instantly. A soft voice followed. Are you awake? Maya stood at the hallway entrance, looking unsure. Yeah, I said. What's wrong? I can't sleep. I nodded and sat up, making room beside me. Come here. She walked over slowly, sat beside me, then leaned her head against my shoulder like before. You ever wonder, she said, how things might have been different if we were born into the same family? I thought about it. About the late nights playing video games as kids. About laughing in the back seat on road trips. About all the little memories that never quite got the love they deserved. All the time, I replied. She looked up at me then, and something shifted. There was warmth in her gaze, but also something more. Something bold. I think that's why I came here, she whispered. Not just to be safe, but because I missed you. My heart pounded. I opened my mouth to speak, and then a loud crash shattered the moment. Glass. From the kitchen. Someone was inside. To be continued. The sound of glass breaking snapped me into action. I jumped up, pulling Maya behind me as I rushed toward the kitchen. My heart pounded like a war drum in my chest. My first thought was a break-in. My second, Rick had found us. We crept toward the kitchen, me gripping the handle of a heavy floor lamp as a makeshift weapon. Maya stayed behind me, holding her breath. The kitchen window was shattered. Shards sparkled on the tile floor, and a gust of night air blew in through the opening. But whoever had been there, if anyone, was gone. I checked the alley behind the building. Empty. Maya clung to my arm. He found me. He really found me. No, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. We don't know that yet. But we're not waiting to find out. I locked the kitchen door, pushed the fridge against it, and grabbed my phone. "We're going to the police. Now." She looked terrified. "What if they don't believe me?" "Then they'll believe me," I said firmly. "You have nothing to be ashamed of, Maya. You did the right thing. And now it's my turn to protect you." She nodded slowly, trusting me. We grabbed what little we needed, and I led her out the back door. I didn't own a car, but my neighbor downstairs owed me a favor, and he had an old pickup. A few knocks later, and we were on the road, speeding through the silent city toward the nearest police precinct. Inside, under the harsh fluorescent lights, Maya told everything. The recording she had hidden in the cloud. The names. The dates. The bruises. The officer listened. Took notes. Then more officers came. One of them recognized Rick's name. He didn't say much, but I saw the tension in his jaw. By morning, they had her statement. And by noon, Rick was in handcuffs. Maya watched from behind a one-way mirror as they brought him in. Her hands shook. "You did it," I whispered. "You stopped him." "I couldn't have done it alone," she said. "You gave me the strength to finish what I started." They moved her to a safe shelter for the night, somewhere Rick's people couldn't reach. I visited her the next day, expecting to see fear, but she was different. Stronger. "They're going after Mom next," she said. She knew what was happening. She let it happen. "I'm ready to face that now." I nodded, proud of her in a way words couldn't touch. A few days later, she came back, not just to visit, but to stay. The courts had granted her temporary protection, and since she was 18, she was free to choose where she wanted to live. She chose me. Our little apartment became a new kind of home. We laughed more, ate meals together, talked late into the night. She started drawing again, something she hadn't done in years. I started sleeping easier, knowing she was safe just down the hall. One night, weeks later, I found her sitting on the couch, sketchbook in her lap. She looked up and smiled. "Do you ever wonder why things happen the way they do?" she asked. "All the time," I replied. Maybe I was meant to come back to you. Maybe everything had to fall apart so we could rebuild it, together." I sat beside her. "Maybe so." She leaned into me again, but this time it felt different. No fear, no desperation, just quiet understanding. She looked up at me, her voice soft. "I never stopped thinking about you. I never stopped caring," I said. She smiled, a full, free, glowing smile. The kind I hadn't seen since we were kids. And then, without a word, she kissed my cheek. Not in desperation. Not in confusion, but in calm, sure clarity. We weren't bound by blood. We were bound by history, by choices, by moments of truth. That night, there was no knock at the door. No fear in the shadows. Just silence. Peaceful. Whole. She fell asleep on the couch, head in my lap, curled like she belonged there. And for the first time in a long time, I believed that maybe, just maybe, something beautiful had come from the darkness. The end.